welcome back to the Alchemy Sports Performance Podcast. Last week we had some technical difficulties, but you know what? We're back. We're giving it another go. This week we're kind of going to expand upon the idea that we kind of touched on last week with is the values that you get from training that goes beyond the training. But this time we want to talk about kind of the idea that the value you get from your coach that goes beyond the training. Because the truth is, if you have an athlete that works with you, let's say they even come 5 days a week, which is rare. Let's probably be realistic with this. Most training programs, you're going to get a kid 2 to 3 times a week because of all the other stuff they got going on. There's a lot of hours in a day. There's a lot of time outside of the time they're with you. So what are you teaching them? What are you talking to them about? What are you trying to get them to do that goes beyond the programming that you're providing? And I think one of the things that we take pride in is talking about the hours that aren't with us. We talk about the studying, we talk about nutrition, we talk about sleep, we talk about spending time with your recovery, getting your homework done, making sure you show up and do your practice hours the way they need to be, be right to your family, the things that don't necessarily happen in the weight room. So we're going to dig into some of those topics today. We're going to kind of touch on kind of the values that we see that are important to talk about outside of the sets and reps, because the sets and reps, that's the easy stuff for us. That's what we're trained to do. But
right.
A lot of times we see coaches that don't talk about the importance of the other things, the little stuff. So in your opinion, what are the most important things that a student athlete can take care of outside of their training hours to help them long term?
Right. I think this kind of goes back to, I guess, the value outside of the training and taking care of that stuff, or kind of like the overall type of big picture that we try to create on the last kind of conversation that we had. But big things that we try to work on, obviously, going to the athlete's perspective, is these are things that they're going to have to control and take care of on their own. So making sure, I guess, just speaking to them about that is making sure that they're taking care of the things that they need to be taken care of outside of the training, right? So this is just one piece. I feel like if you are coming to us to help you with those things, then there's a certain level of where you're trying to go. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of people that are coming in here and doing this type of stuff if they don't want to get to a certain level. And I think that with that, something that is commonly missed by coaches is making sure that they are having those conversations with the kids about them controlling the outside stuff. Obviously, with the training, you come in here, you work hard, you break the muscle down, you're trying to get stronger. Everybody thinks that you're getting stronger by doing the workouts in the weight room. Really, the workouts in the weight room and all of that are breaking the muscles down. And if you don't hydrate those muscles and feed those muscles, then you're not going to allow those muscles to rebuild themselves to grow back stronger. So making sure for the athletes, making sure that you guys are eating enough food throughout the day, making sure that you're staying hydrated, drinking a lot of fluid, a lot of water, electrolytes, different stuff like that, and making sure that you're taking care of your sleep. So a lot of the kids that we work with, yeah, they play athletics, they want to go to college, different things like that, but they're also high school kids at the end of the day. So high school kids are running around crazy, some of the time doing productive stuff, some of the time doing high school kid type of things. Everyone likes to stay up late and do whatever it is that they do, hopefully doing homework and different stuff like that if they are going to be up that late, but trying to make an effort to get to sleep at a normal hour can be challenging for some people. But I think if the effort is there, or if you're talking to that kid about, hey, let's try to get an extra hour of sleep or something, depending on when that kid is going to sleep, get to bed earlier, or if you have for whatever reason, if you have some time in the morning that you can kind of sleep in from time to time or something like that, I think most of it is going to derive from trying to go to bed a little bit earlier. And then a lot of kids are constantly trying to put weight on, they're trying to get stronger, they're trying to gain some weight. And then the big thing for young kids that struggle to gain weight is that they don't eat enough. And then when you have that discussion with the kid, I've never met a skinny kid that doesn't say, oh, I eat all the time, or I eat a lot, because I will tell you for sure that you're not eating enough. So kind of walking them through trying to figure out meals and timing wise and different things like that, snacks and the meals included around all of the training things that they're trying to do, practices, all of that stuff. I think if anything that we can talk about with the kids as far as that sort of stuff is the hydration piece, the food, nutrition, and getting the recovery, the rest that's necessary that they need for their body, which I think are three big things that are commonly neglected that we constantly see.
Yeah, no, those three are definitely the hardest thing, and a lot of it I think stems from the new environment of sports. You know, you get a lot of kids now that they're playing travel sports. They're at tournaments all day long. They're traveling all over the country, so they're in a car, and you know, when you're in the car, you don't want to drink a lot of water because you don't want to stop to have to go to the bathroom, and then you get to your games, and then you don't have time to eat between games, and you're not taking care of your body. So by the third game of the day, you're running on whatever you ate for dinner last night because you didn't eat breakfast because your game was at 8 a.m. and you're like, I don't want to eat in the morning.
Right.
And it really boils down to, like you said, controlling the controllables. I mean, those types of things, you can't control the schedule you're given when it comes to these tournaments. You can control if you go to bed on time, get up a little earlier, eat breakfast, make sure you take a water bottle with you, drink those things. You know, there's things that you can get to help with the hydration piece if you're not getting maybe enough water, that you can kind of help rehydrate to a level that's adequate for your performance. But, you know, at the end of the day, it really comes down to prioritizing these things over the fun stuff. You know, everybody wants to sit up on their phone and talk to their friends and scroll through TikTok and all these other things, but none of that helps you sleep and recover.
Right.
And at these tournaments, you're asked to play 6 to 8 games in a weekend. That's exhausting. That's a lot. There's no time in your career, if you play in college, that you'll ever be asked to do that.
Right.
Right. You look at these college teams and they go and they play if let's say for a volleyball athlete, in high school, you go to these tournaments and you play 6 to 10 games in a weekend. In college, you'll play one set or one match, maybe 5 sets if it's a good game, and then you won't play again for like 2 more days.
Right.
Like that, the amount that we punish these high school kids because they're more resilient, because their bodies are capable, because we want to get them exposure.
Yep.
But then we're not also talking about the importance of these other pieces, and we wonder why we have these overuse injuries, and we wonder why the bodies are breaking down, because if we're not fueling these high performance vehicles with enough calories, with hydration, with sleep, we're going to break down.
Yep.
Over time, you're going to see these injuries. And I think that's one of the big challenges of all this is, can we get you to perform at a high level on a consistent basis over time? Because all of these things are just constant, like pounding on your body.
Right. Yep. I think it's a lot of just kind of throwing the kids out there, and they're just a kid. They can take on all of this stuff, and I think that it is, you know, people will speak to the amount that they have to do and the timing and the schedules and different stuff like that. But I think that that's also, I guess, something that people don't necessarily always think about is this, like, not all the time do we have to have a full meal, right? We understand that if you're playing, you know, back-to-back games, you don't want to go and eat a full meal if you have 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, you know, because then all of that food that you ate is going to be weighing heavy on your stomach for the next game. But I guess having an understanding of we need to eat something, and it can be, I think a lot of it is the preparation piece. Mm-hmm. So if you know that first thing in the morning you're waking up, and most kids, high school or you know, really whatever age, they're going to sleep as long as they possibly can. They're going to wait until the absolute last minute to wake up, roll out of bed, brush their teeth, and they're gone, right? So sure, I can understand, you know, not waking up and making eggs and having all this time to make like a full breakfast, right? But what are some things that we can substitute in there that will carry us until the next meal that we have, or like a meal at school, or depending on when your lunch is during school, that could be your first actual meal for the day. But we need something that carries you to that point. Or if you're on the run, on the go for a tournament, you're traveling, you don't have time or don't want to, you know, wake up super early and make breakfast. well, what are some things that we can prepare ahead of time or take with us that gets us to, lunch, or once we get to the destination, we want to grab a meal before we have our first game, depending on how much time we have. And then what can we fuel the body with in between the games that keeps us going, keeps some energy, keeps some fuel in the tank until games are over, and then we eat a big meal. And then, you know what I'm saying, kind of planning out the kids' days. Even a lot of kids will struggle with a normal day, not even when you're playing back-to-back games. Like, that's a whole nother beast in itself. But like, first of all, attacking and creating a plan and a routine around what does a normal day look like, because every kid is waking up, they're going straight to school. They're at school from basically 8 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 2:30, 3, whatever. And then after that, they have some sort of practice or some sort of lift or some sort of training session. And then they may be going to something else. They may be going to a travel sport or whatever. So kind of creating a schedule and helping them plan something out, I think then they have a plan in place, and then it's a lot more obtainable to stick to that plan as far as the food goes.
Yeah.
But I think without a plan or without some sort of routine that you stick to, then you see kids that are trying to do all of these things and trying to gain weight and get stronger and all this at the same time, and they're eating, once a day, twice a day.
You're basically just leaving it to chance at that point.
Exactly.
Hoping that you find a window to eat something.
Yes. And I think that it's something that gets overlooked a lot, because everyone's like, well, I'm doing this, all of these things that are activities or practices or the strength pieces and all of that stuff, the training pieces to become better athletes, but it's all the physical activity side of things. It's nothing about the recovery and the sleep and the hydration and the nutrition, which are all overlooked things, because I think that everyone's trying to add physical activity to get better instead of, instead of me figuring out all of these 3 things over here that's going to help my body in the back end of everything, I'm just going to add an additional practice time or strength training time or this extra activity stuff, when a lot of it is sometimes kids need to just back it off and slow down a little bit and take care of those pieces so that their body they can help their body a little bit more.
Yeah, there's 2 things that you said in there that I thought were very interesting. And one is, when you look at these busy schedules that these kids and these athletes are on, they have all these practices, all these workouts, all these different things that are scheduled in time. But we don't do the same thing for our nutrition. We don't do the same thing for our studying. We don't do the same thing for our routine in daily lives. And so all those other things get kind of pushed to the side. Yeah. Imagine how much more functional we'd be as athletes, as parents, as being able to help our young kids get the nutrition they need if we spent time dividing up, okay, we're going to wake up at this time, we're going to eat, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and it's all listed out, and it becomes more structured. Yeah, that seems like a lot, and we become kind of, I guess, more or less robotic, but at the end of the day, we are such creatures of habit and routine that if we don't set these routines into place and we don't create this system of this is how I operate, then like I said a second ago, we're just leaving it to chance and hoping that we find a window that, oh, hey, look, I have a half hour, we're going to swing through McDonald's and grab something to eat, which, let's be honest, that's not what, you're a high school athlete, you can get away with it, but that's not what we need. That's not maximizing our potential. And, the other thing of this is, you talk about like they get up at the last second and then they leave to go to play their game. Name a hotel that doesn't have some kind of muffin and a banana that you can't grab on the way out the door. Like, there's no reason not to have some kind of fuel in your body on your way to your game. And I think that that's a big piece of a lot of this is planning it out and having a structure of, okay, so my day, my normal day, I have to get up at this time to make sure I get to school at this time. Okay, what can I put in there? Even if it's make a protein shake the night before and grab it on your way out the door. That's a simple solution to, now I'm setting myself up for success.
At least you're prepared to do.
I'm preparing for the next day.
And I think that is a big thing, because I guess at the same sense, understand who you're working with and that sort of thing. Know your clientele, and don't tell them like this is a be all end all. You have to do this one thing or else it's not going to work out for you. You know what I'm saying? So let's, as the adults or the coaches, let's kind of find a happy medium, a common ground, right? What can the kid actually sustain and do over time, longevity wise, and give them some sort of things that okay, look, I understand that you may not have a bunch of time in the morning or whatever.
You're not going to make eggs in the morning.
Right. So grab this, and this, take it with you to school, eat that on the way to school, boom. And then you have lunch at whatever period it is. You're going to eat this meal here for lunch. And then we're going to eat our snack before our after school activity or whatever it may be. I think that is kind of a key piece as well.
Yeah, knowing who you're working with, for sure.
Right. And I would also say, to your point, is that all of your sports activities are planned and structured, and they're on a specific calendar. All of this stuff is planned and structured, right? But it's in the sport activity.
Yeah.
So if there's a reason why everyone works off of some sort of schedule and calendar, and they plan all of these things out. So why aren't we kind of looking at that and being like, okay, maybe, all of these extra things that I need to control in my own life, I need to kind of plan and structure the same way that all of my sports and activities and different things like that are structured.
Right.
It needs to be like that. So then that way we can't use the excuse of, oh, I don't have time, or I'm busy, that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, every kid is busy. No kid has just a bunch of free time most of the time. And when they do have free time, they want to spend it certain ways or whatever, right? So I think that we got to kind of prioritize making sure that we are planning for those types of things, so that we have some sort of structure and some sort of plan when it comes to every single day, right? And I also think that kids will be, oh, well, whenever you talk to a kid that's trying to gain weight or whatever it is that they're trying to do, they're like, oh, well, I ate a lot of food yesterday. And I think that the consistency piece is going to be the biggest thing out of all of this, right? All of this kind of revolves around consistency, right? Every kid likes to tell you about the one day that they ate a lot of food. Yeah. But like, I need you to eat a certain amount of food every single day. Not just, one day 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday, I went out to eat, and I went out to eat with my family, and I had a lot of food.
A full rack of ribs.
Right. Like, okay, that was great, but that's not really what we're looking for. We have to have the consistency piece every single day. We have to be making sure that we're eating meals and we're having snacks in between and different stuff like that. And I think that consistency piece is going to have to come with some sort of planning and some sort of structure and understanding of, I'm going to prepare, whatever it is. I'm going to prepare my food. I'm going to take some food with me to school. I'm going to prepare this food, in the evening time or whatever the day before, because I know that I'm not going to have that time in the morning to prepare something. So then, instead of just going without, we have prepared beforehand, and now we have some things that we can grab and take with us to go to school, and that is going to fuel me throughout the day.
Yeah, you talked about the prioritization of stuff, and if we prioritize our nutrition, if we prioritize our sleep, if we prioritize our healthy habits, we build that success and that foundation for it. Have you ever seen the Stephen Covey Big Rocks video on YouTube? So the idea is we have this big jar, and this is our day, right? And he has this woman come up, and he has all these rocks, and it's like family, work, reading, education, learning, all these big things that matter in life, making money, saving, retirement, all these things have big rocks, right? Yeah. And you have to fill this jar, but you can't go over the top. And at the bottom, there's like little pebbles, right? And that's all the other stuff that gets in the way. That's all the little things. I found myself distracted scrolling through my phone for an hour. And if we prioritize the big rocks first, we have room to sprinkle in the little things. Yep. And that's the main idea behind this, is that we need to make sure we spend time focused on the big things first, because there's always time for the little ones. There's a really cool one too about a professor, and he's talking to a bunch of students, and it's like golf balls. And at the end, he has like his beer he pours on the top, and he goes, no matter how full life seems, there's always time for a beer with friends. Yeah. And it's a really cool message. I'll try to link it in the notes when we get to when we put this one out there, so that way you guys can go watch this, because the idea is, if we focus on the big things, if we focus on the things that matter, the important things, we can always make time for the other stuff. Right. But if we put the other stuff first, if we spend time having a beer with friends, if we spend time wasting time on my cell phone instead of waking up and focusing on getting my breakfast ready, or if I go to bed late so I wake up tired and I don't focus on all those little things, if we do the little things first, the big things get thrown away, and that's when we get in trouble. Yep. If we can spend time focused on the big things, I guarantee you'll find time for the little things. Yeah. We still have time to go have fun.
Right.
We we don't lose those things. We might choose to do something else over the fun thing.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if we do it right, there's still time to do the little things.
I think that's kind of the mentality that you have to have if so many kids want to play sports in college, right? So many kids want to get a scholarship. But a lot of the times, you have to ask them or make sure that they are understanding of, like, are you doing the things that need to be done in order for you to get to that point, right? Because I think that that's something that everyone wants, right? But there's very few people that are willing to do the things and sacrifice a little bit for that goal, right? I think that sometimes with the way that social media is nowadays, that a lot of kids think that it's easy to get a scholarship. It's easy to go and play sports in college. And I think that really just how hard that actually is, and like what few percentage of kids actually go on to play sports in college is sometimes overlooked. And the kids think that, basically I can go on Twitter right now and I can find 5 kids that just got an offer, right? And for me, then that makes it feel like it's right there. You know what I'm saying? It's that easy.
That everyone's getting an offer.
And so many kids are getting offers, really. But I don't think that that's the case, right? And I also think that you can't just rely on going and just playing on Friday night or whatever day that your game is, right? I think that there's so many things that are supposed to be done in the back end that leads you to game day. You can't just show up when the lights turn on and be ready to go. Right. And I think that a lot of those kids that are wanting to do that, they have to make sure that the things that they're doing or the activities that they're partaking in and different stuff like that are leading them to their goals, right? And those are the things, those big things, or the big items that you're talking about, those are the things that we have to make sure that we are taking care of every single day. And then that's when you sprinkle in the little extra stuff. Once all of my stuff is done, or once I prioritize and make sure that, sure, whatever I'm going to do, if I'm going to go hang out with my friends and different stuff like that, then I'm going to make sure that I'm still, I'm getting my food in. I'm still staying hydrated and different stuff like that. Hopefully,
my homework's done.
Hopefully that the other kids that you're hanging out with that also are interested in their working towards the same things that you're working towards, so that everyone together collectively is working on those things that we're talking about. But I think that those are the pieces that is finding some sort of balance. That's another thing that you're talking about, because at the end of the day, we're talking about kids.
Right.
But we're also talking about kids that are wanting to do something big. They're trying to achieve something big, and that's to go and play sport in college. Mm-hmm. That's not an easy task. And I think that it can be done, and I want everyone to push towards that and work to achieve that. But you can't just show up to the game and that's the only thing that you care about. You can't be doing all of these activities over here that have nothing to do with serving your bigger purpose if you really feel like, or you really, really, really want to achieve going to play a sport in college. I think that it's harder than what it seems like in today's day and age, in trying to get kids to make sure that they're focused on those overall goals and the things that they're trying to accomplish is a valuable piece.
And I think even beyond, if you're let's say you don't want to play a sport in college, learning to prioritize.
Right.
If you're going to be a business owner, you need to learn to prioritize. There's things that in life, having that skill, it'll benefit you, because there's going to be distractions once you get out into the workforce. There's going to be distractions in college. There's going to be distractions for the rest of your life that are going to try to take your time away from the things that you need to do because of the things that are exciting and fun to do now.
Right.
And if you don't learn how to prioritize, if you don't learn how to do the big things first, whether you want to be a college athlete or not, life becomes harder if you're if you're trying to create time later for the things that are important.
Yep. It's still overall, we're speaking to a lot of, the things. I guess we're speaking to a lot of just athletes that want to go and play in college right now.
Right.
But even so, if you're someone that, like you're talking about, you have to prioritize, right? If you're someone that wants to have some sort of health and wellness regimen and routine in your life. Life is always going to have obstacles. Once you become an adult and you have to have a job, or you're trying to run a business, work for yourself, you have a family, you have kids that you have to take care of, you have, all these different things. There's always going to be this and this type of thing that you could take priority over, different things like that, or you're going to allow those things to kind of mess up your routine or the things that you're trying to do. And I think that putting precedent on those things and still making sure that you're taking care of those things are important, regardless. So if you're someone that's trying to come in and you have a workout routine, or you want to stick to some sort of routine that is for working out and different things like that, you should still be making sure that you prioritize your food. You know what I'm saying? Living a healthy lifestyle when it comes to food, because it would be easy when you don't prepare, or you don't have anything in place that says, I'm trying to eat healthy foods, right? Or I'm trying to prepare so that when the time comes and I'm busy with work, or I only, XYZ things are popping up, I'm prepared when it comes to my food. And then that way I'm not like, okay, well, I'm starving and I don't have anything to eat, let me just grab what's closest to me. Odds are that it's not going to be the best type of food. It's not going to be anything that really helps you fuel your body, right? And I think that those things can still be neglected when life gets in the way. So I think, once again, kind of expanding on what we had talked about the previous episode, was kind of basically training yourself at a younger age to prepare you for life after, right? And it's a lot harder to kind of do that in reverse, right? If you have never had any sort of time management or responsibility, or prioritizing anything in your life, as you come up as a young kid and a teenager, and then into a young adult, and then you try and do that on the flip side, it's a lot more challenging, I think, once we're talking about getting into the real world and life in itself and different stuff like that. I just think, a lot of kids that are playing high school sports, it's kind of like those sports things there's so many life lessons within sports, whether your main goal is to go to college and play, and that helps you go to college for a discounted rate or for free or something like that, or whether you're playing a sport just because you're trying to learn those life values. I think that there's so much benefit to that in general, and these types of things, I guess, that we're talking about speak to life in general, and it also speaks to the athletes that want to go and play in college. These are valuable pieces, I think.
So there's two more things I kind of want to touch on before we wrap up for today. The first one is, when you hear an athlete come in and they say, oh man, my pre-workout's really kicking in, what's your first thoughts?
Why are you taking pre-workout?
Why do you think young kids these days, especially the high school athletes, are enamored with the pre-workout?
Well, one, because I think that it's cool, because it is. You see all like the bodybuilder people and the big time influencers and different stuff like that. Now they take pre-workout before they work out, and it's like, oh, maybe I should take that. I need some extra energy. I need a little boost for this workout. I also think that it goes back to the three things that we already covered. If you don't get enough sleep at night, obviously you're not going to have energy the next day for your workout. Right. If you don't eat the previous day or that day, depending on when your workout is, if you don't have enough fuel in your body, you're not going to have any energy. Your body feeds off of the energy that you put into it, right? Mm-hmm. And to a certain extent, food is energy that you're putting into your body, right? So everything that you do is energy in versus energy out. So when you eat, energy in. When you expend energy, which is all of the activities that you have to do, that's energy out. If your energy out, your output is way higher than your input, obviously you're going to be riding on zero. You're going to have zero energy. If you don't stay hydrated and you don't drink enough fluids, you're not going to have energy. So I think that really those are the big pieces that kind of go into like why an athlete would think that they need to take pre-workout.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting too is that we look at these pre-workouts, they're loaded with caffeine.
Right.
There's no reason for a kid that age to need caffeine. Honestly, for a healthy individual, we probably don't need caffeine. Now, as we get older, it just kind of becomes habitual, and I guess that's a big part of what we're doing here. But
not to say that all pre-workouts are necessarily bad, but are pre-workouts really the thing that your kid needs in order to get them through their activities?
Well, I think the other thing that people don't realize is that when you look at these bodybuilders, they have their nutrition on point. They're probably well hydrated. They have all of these different things that are going well for them. The pre-workout is more to feel the pump. And as an athlete, you don't need to feel the pump. That's not what you're here to do. You're here to get better. And if you're already dehydrated and now you're drinking caffeine before you go work out, you're even more dehydrated. You're leaving yourself open to cramping, to having some other issues and some difficulties there. I mean, I've heard of stories of kids that are football players taking pre-workout before a game and then like cramping before the game's even into the end of the first quarter on a night that it's first off, it's fall in Ohio. It's 50 degrees outside. You shouldn't be cramping.
Yes. I think another point is that a lot of kids, independent, like you said, they're looking up to, or they're looking at bodybuilders and different stuff like that to see what they're doing. And I would also say that a lot of people don't understand kind of a way that a bodybuilder works, right? And a lot of times they're in a deficit, or they're bulking, and that's when they're trying to gain their muscle and different stuff like that, right? I think that there's ups and downs as far as cutting and bulking goes for a bodybuilder, and that's something that is like a high school kid is not. We're not really trying to bulk and cut and bulk and cut, and like a lot of kids are severely undersized. Like there is no bulking and cutting. We're trying to put some weight on you. That's where your strength comes in. That's where you gain muscle. That's where you gain your weight, different stuff like that. And you never know if that bodybuilder is in a deficit as far as calorie wise because they have a show coming up or something like that and they're really trying to cut down. Then that's when they aren't feeding their body very much. They're really kind of in a very unhealthy stage of what they're trying to do because they are doing it like to the utmost degree and like so severely that they're cutting down and dieting because they're about to get on stage. But that is not something that is attainable, and hopefully any bodybuilder out there that's influencing or doing anything like that would touch on that a bit, that it's not something that they do year round. And odds are when they are stepping on stage or when they're doing these photo shoots and preparing for something where they have a goal in mind and they're in preparation, that is not how they walk around all the time. That's not sustainable for even them. And that's, I think, something that a lot of young kids don't understand, or a lot of your skinny athlete kids, they're like, oh, I don't want to eat too much. I don't want to gain too much weight because I don't want to get fat. I don't want to lose my abs. And I'm like, that's not how it works either. But at the same
time, don't make you an athlete.
That is also true too. At the same time, it's like we have to have our goals in check for really what we're trying to obtain. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, abs don't make you a better athlete. But at the same sense, if you gain some weight, if you're significantly just a small kid that needs to gain weight, you can't come in and be like, okay, we need to put 10, 20 pounds on this kid, but I want to make sure that I keep my abs. But I want to make sure that I'm doing it the right way so that I don't get fat. And I'm like, look, really, you're 40 pounds underweight. 20 pounds is going to put you to just right there in a good sweet spot where you're not going to get fat by any means by putting on a few pounds. And you have to, once again, you have to make sure that your goals are really in line with what you're trying to get achieved. Because being an athlete, you're not going to you shouldn't be just a skinny kid walking around, look at a lot of athletes that are professionals or playing college, right? Those are where you're trying to get to and you're trying to achieve. Look at the athletes in those places and what do they look like? They have muscle, they're put together well, right? But there's a difference in a collegiate athlete or a professional athlete and a bodybuilder. You know what I'm saying? Like their body types are different. So if you want to be a bodybuilder or that's something that you want to pursue, cool. But odds are that those two things aren't really going to come together and they're not going to align very well. If you want to be an athlete or you are an athlete, but you're looking to bodybuilders and different stuff like that for your motivation, I think that is kind of a misconception that you see mostly with high school athletes, high school boys in general, different stuff like that. And I just think that coming up with making sure, that there's a proper way to eat and fuel and different stuff like that, but it's not odds are it's not going to be the same as a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
And what you need to do and different stuff like that. And I always just tell the younger high school kids, like, you can't be afraid to put a little weight on, because that's going to help you get bigger. That's going to help you get stronger. That's going to help you be more powerful. All of these things that we need for sport. Right.
The bigger
hopefully
you are,
cuts down on injury, knock on wood. Obviously injuries will still happen, but the more that you are fueling your body and taking care of your body, the less likely that you would be prone to injury. Obviously, injuries can still happen. It's not a be-all, end-all type of thing, but we want to do anything and everything that we can to prevent those types of things, because you can't be a good athlete if you're constantly injured and on the sidelines not able to perform the sport.
Yeah.
So.
No, and I think the biggest thing here is as a high school athlete, or even probably as a college athlete. Now, at college, you're starting to get a little older. You could probably get away with it, but you don't need caffeine.
Right.
In your diet, that's not something you necessarily need.
No.
And especially not as a pre-workout. Like, if you're going to get caffeine and you're going to do like a black coffee or a coffee with a little bit of cream and whatever, sure. But at the end of the day, if you're not hydrating well, if you're not doing all the other things well, and you're adding that to your system, you're only creating more problems long term. And I think that's the challenge of it all. So.
And I think that goes back to making sure that you are doing those things that you need to be doing in order to get to where you're trying to go, right? Because I think that a lot of kids will see caffeine as an easy fix, because they don't want to have to do
the hard thing.
They don't want to have to go to sleep early. They don't want to have to make sure that they stay hydrated and constantly drinking water, and they don't want to prepare meals or create some sort of routine, because a lot of that stuff takes work. And it's like, oh, well, why would I do all of that to take some work when I could just take this pre-workout real quick or whatever, and that'll get me by. Right. I think that a lot of kids got to focus more so on just in general taking care of the things that they need to take care of, that's going to help them get to the point where they're going to go, because I think that the things that they're trying to do, they are difficult things, and they're big goals and that sort of stuff, and it's going to take a little bit of work on your end in order to achieve those things, and making sure that you're consistently moving in the right directions.
So the final thing I want to touch on real quick before I don't want to go super in detail because we can spend that for a whole other episode, but when it comes to supplements, what are your thoughts on supplements and how kids should probably utilize them best?
I would always say that supplements are literally exactly that. They are used, and they should be used. They are created to supplement what you are lacking in your day-to-day nutrition.
Right.
So like we touched on at the beginning, young athletes are constantly on the go. Mm-hmm. So when you're on the go, you are using a supplement to supplement where that food intake should be, or where that meal should be, because we are in a rush and we're on the go, right? Yeah. So if you can have a protein shake or have a protein bar or something like that, that has some actual calories and nutritional value to it, when you're on the run, beautiful. Like, that's where you should use it. Yeah. I don't think that any kid should be reliant upon mass gainer or protein or pre-workout or any of those types of things, because I want to make sure that you're getting real whole foods first, and you are prioritizing your time and your meals and different stuff like that, because I think that, like mass gainer, it can be a tool that can be used for kids that are in a pinch and they need to get calories. And a lot of kids, like, the amount of activity that they are doing mm-hmm. far outweighs the amount of food that they can eat, or because like you don't have enough time, you're constantly running around literally, or and you just can't eat enough food to make sure that you stay in a caloric surplus.
Right.
So you have a mass gainer that has a few hundred to 1,000 calories that you can drink in a like I said, in a pinch, when you don't have a lot of time, that can get some calories into your body, and help fuel your body where you lack in time being able to eat. Or like I said, some kids, they have a slower metabolism, or they just don't have a big appetite to eat a lot of food. And if we legit can't get a kid to eat some more food or be able to put that food down and hold that food down because they just don't have that type of appetite, then I think that that's a place where you should supplement for a mass gainer or a protein shake on the go. Those types of things, I think that they can be beneficial, but they can't be the be all end all.
Right. No, I'm with you there. I think that a big thing of it is it's a healthier alternative to nothing.
Absolutely.
You know, if you're stuck with in a pinch, you need to get. I like it for post workout because it's fast, easy, absorbs, it gets into the system. It can give you some fuel and energy to help you recover following. Especially if, like you said, you're running between. I just finished up practice at school. I'm about to go lift. Let me get something real quick in my system. It's not going to be as heavy. It's not going to sit funny. If you only have that short window, it can get you kind of from A to B.
Yep.
And you know, it definitely fills the gaps. And I think today, what's really nice is that they've done a lot of work to make them better for you. Yeah. So there are some benefits to that, but I do agree that a lot of people end up like stocking up on supplements, and that's their fuel source. Right. And it has to start with whole foods. It has to start with properly taking care of the body and eating things that are in nature. And then you fill in the gaps. But again, that comes back to creating a routine, creating a system, understanding what kind of calories you're getting on a regular basis. And then, okay, well, I only get 3,000 calories from my food. I need to get to 4,500 if I'm going to gain weight. So here's where I can fill in the gaps with a 500 calorie shake in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening. Okay, cool. I had 3 supplemental shakes, but they were around my whole foods, and it's not the ultimate or the primary source of fuel. It's a supplement to the primary source of fuel.
Yeah, I think in general, I guess when it comes to nutrition, I always like to look at stuff as like a good, better, and best type of option.
I like that,
So obviously, if it's between not eating anything and having something, like I'm always going to choose something, even if that happens to be driving through
cheeseburger from McDonald's.
Drive through fast food is going to be it's going to be better than nothing. You know what I'm trying to say. Protein shake or mass gainer, different stuff like that. Great for I just finished a workout and let me get some protein in, let me get some fruit in or something, some calories to replenish and hold me over until I eat my next meal. So that would be a lot of. I would not want to use like a protein shake or a mass gainer in place of a meal in itself, right? But like when it comes to the snacks and different stuff like that, like I would love to see a kid eating at least 3 meals a day and having at least 2 snacks. And then you kind of just play around with timing wise and that sort of stuff to figure out when those meals come and when those snacks come. But going back to I'm waking up last minute before I have to go to school and get ready. I don't have enough time to make eggs. Like that's not realistic for me. I can't believe that you would ask me to make some food before I go to school. I don't eat breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Like that sort of thing. Easy to put some protein in a shaker, put some water on it or put some milk on it, whatever it is that you want to have in it. Even if you make that into a shake where you throw that in a blender with some peanut butter, oats, all kinds of different stuff, now you got yourself basically a meal. You got a smoothie.
Right.
And I'm cool with that. Or just as simple as throwing the protein in with water, shaking it up on the go, grabbing a piece of fruit, grabbing a granola bar, something, whatever, scoop a spoonful of peanut butter and take it out the door with you. That right there in itself took me a minute, 2 minutes maximum. I think that every kid can find 2 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And if you can't find 2 minutes,
do it the night before.
Then or wake up 2 minutes earlier. You know what I'm saying? Instead
really
of
not that hard.
Setting some crazy alarm for 7:17, just let's wake up at 7:15. 7:10, whatever, something like that. So you have a couple minutes to take something with you.
Right.
And if that's basically the price that you have to pay in order to continue moving forward on where you're trying to go with your goals, then I think that you need to kind of dig in deep a little bit and ask yourself, am I really willing to do what it is that I need to do in order to get there? And if that's just, I'm asking for an extra couple minutes of waking up earlier and not literally rolling right out of bed and wearing the clothes that you're wearing in bed to school, then like maybe let's look at that and figure some things out.
We'll talk about hygiene next time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I agree. I think that that's a big part of it is make some real concessions to what it is you want to accomplish.
Right.
If you truly want to be good at this, if you truly want to become an elite level athlete, you want to play at the next level, some sacrifices are going to have to be made, and you're going to have to make those things happen. But that's it for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this conversation. If so, please subscribe. Make sure you follow along with what we're doing. Leave us a comment below on something that maybe you want to hear us talk about next time, because big part of this is we want to educate you guys. We want to help you get better, and to do that, we need to know what you're struggling with, what it is you need to work on. So let us know what you got in the comments, and we're going to kind of continue to evolve this as we go, and hopefully each week it gets a little bit better for you. So thanks again for tuning into the Alchemy Sports Performance Podcast. Until next time, guys.
See ya.
See you later.